Hi, this is Natural Solutions. I'm going to be making some apple pie, and I'm going to be showing you how to use for the crust, it's going to be King Arthur's all-purpose flour mix. So a lot of stuff is already done. You don't have to add this flour and that flour. King Arthur is really a good gluten-free flour for doing things like that. So it makes a great pie crust, and you don't have to work so hard. And the second item from Bob's Red Mill is the all-purpose baking flour that I use as well, because you always need just a little extra, to put around and make sure stuff doesn't stick. You want to make sure you have your parchment paper and everything. You're going to have a roller, of course. I don't have to show you that. But also you want to get the Granny Smith apples, and I've already diced it up what my daughter has and cored it and everything. And so about 7 to 10 apples is what you want. I already got a nice little pie plate here we're going to use to put the items in. And you need your butter, and I'm just going to do it by hand. So we're going to be cutting up some butter, 2 whole sticks of butter, and about maybe 2.5 or so cups of the Bob's Red Mill flour here, all-purpose flour. We're going to put it into a bowl, and we're going to actually do it by hand. Okay, we want to take a little cup of sugar here, about a cup. It's according to taste. What we're going to do now is we're going to sweeten up the apples. We're going to sweeten up the apples a little bit, and we're going to mix that mixture with cinnamon and nutmeg so that it has the right flavor. So we're using a natural raw sugar, instead of like the white sugar. We're using a raw sugar, and it's finely grated and everything. And so we just take it and we just pour it in onto the apples. It's about, I got a little less than a cup actually, and we'll see how it tastes. And we take the cinnamon, and it goes a long way. So just want to kind of sprinkle it. That may give a measurement of a teaspoon, but it's according to your taste really. And so I normally put my finger over some of it because it comes out kind of big. So I want to be able to control it as I put it on the apples, because I kind of like that cinnamon flavor quite a bit, but I don't want it to just come out without being under my control. And then the nutmeg is actually stronger, and so I get a good ground cinnamon from Big Lots, as well as the flours, the Bob's Red Mill baking flour from Big Lots. It's cheaper that way. And then I get the King Arthur flour from Walmart, the general purpose stuff. So just to let you know, and I'm using McCormick nutmeg at this time. And you want to control that nutmeg because you don't want to put that much, just dashes, because it's very strong. Okay, and so I'm doing it the same way. All right, and then you take your hands basically and just go in and kind of mix it together. And you can kind of taste an apple here and there to see, is it the sweetness that you want, because pretty much what you see is what you get. So you want to make sure you got the right flavor where it's going to be sweet enough. You kind of taste and say, okay, I could add just a little bit more sugar because it's going to be the inside of the pie. I always get the Granny Smith apple, like I said before, so I'm adding just a little bit more sugar because I didn't add a full cup, because I want my pie to be a certain sweetness, and you could almost judge it after you done made them for a while. You can kind of know how you're going to come out, how the flavor's going to be and everything. So that's kind of what I'm doing. Kind of tasting it. Just to see where it's at. Add a little bit more cinnamon, because I know how I want my pie to taste versus someone else's. That's why it's hard to do these videos, because everybody has their own preferences and stuff. So I'm adding cinnamon and nutmeg to my preference and mixing it in. And then, but you want to kind of make sure other people like it as well, so don't just make it so that you're the only one that like it. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take the butter. We're going to take the butter that we've diced up, and it's about 2 sticks of butter here that we've diced up, and we're going to add it to like the flour that we have in the bowl right here. And we're going to, I like doing mine by hand, and then you just take a little bit of cold water, like a cup or so of cold water, and add it after you kind of mixed it with your hand. So we normally start off kind of like this. We're going with the flour and everything. It's kind of messy, and we squeeze and we just squeeze and mix, squeeze and mix, squeeze and mix, squeeze and mix. And so, that's pretty much that. And then after that, it kind of solids up. You add a little water after you get the butter fully churned in and everything. And then you kind of put that to the side and back in the refrigerator until you. What I normally do is I put my apples in the bowl and I have the apples cooked, let's say 15-20 minutes. Some people just put the pie straight in there, but I want to make sure everything happens just right. So sometimes those apples can be a little harder than you want. So I like to kind of cook them for 15-20 minutes on about 425, and then I'll take it out, let the everything cool, and then I add the crust on top. So now when you put the apples in the bowl, it may be a little bit overflowing a little bit, but when you put it in the oven and kind of preheat it, or when you put your dough on it, if you were to do it with that technique, because you'll see a lot of that on YouTube, they're going to cook down. So you kind of want it bulging a little bit because you don't want the pie sagging in too much. So I'm going to put this in the oven and see you on the other side. I also, just a special note, I did sprinkle a little sugar into the flour just because, it just needs a little zing. And then, of course, at the end, I might sprinkle a little sugar and cinnamon on top when I put the dough on top as well. But just wanted you to know that. Okay, now that we've got our apples out, I actually let them cook about 30 minutes because I wanted them to get a little softer. Now what we're going to do is we're going to line the bowl with the crust. So we always go around the bowl, and so we make a little seal around the edge, and then we're going to lay the crust over top of it. And so this is how it looks when you get the bowl lined up. You see I'm just lining up the edges, and I'm going to lay the crust on top now. So now you want to lay out your parchment paper, and you want to make sure you got your roller. So you got a nice little roller here. And what I do is I take the Bob's Red Mill baking flour and I put a good amount on the parchment paper. This is where it gets a little messy, where, you got to do that in order to really do a good pie. You're not going to be totally, neat. And I'm spreading out the flour and spreading it around so that when I lay this flour on here, it's really cold. It's a big old lump. And we're going to basically just begin to work it. It's kind of cold, and we're going to work it down, and we're going to put the parchment paper on top as well, and going to start rolling, and it's going to turn out a little flat. I like to make my top crust, since I don't have a bottom crust, a little thicker, because that way you get more dough. It's really all in preference. All right, we flipped the pie crust on, and now we got to work it, because sometimes that gluten-free kind of falls apart a little bit. But we got it on there, and we're just working the edges, cutting off the excess around the edges, and we're getting ready to. And if it comes apart a little bit, that's part of the gluten. It's not as tough as the other pie crust, and so you just kind of put it where you need it, and it's still going to have a great taste, just like it was regular pie. And so then you can go around the edges, and you can kind of make it look like a regular pie by pinching, how they do that little pinch look around the edges there. And so that's what we're doing, so it'll have a nice look to it. But we're going to season it up a little bit more. My pie may be ugly. It's not as pretty as some of what the ladies make. This is called a settler apple pie. You know what I'm saying? It's like it in the old West. We just make it, how we have to do it on the prairie. Now when the women start doing it and helping us out, then it'll look a lot better. But until then, it still tastes like, my family says it's a 10. So that's all that matters. All right. So I'm going to go to phase 2 now, just to top it off. So now the next thing we do is we get some rice milk. And so we're gonna take this little brush here and brush along the top, and you know the cooks always say, you know, that helps with browning of the pie and everything. So you just kind of take the rice milk and brush liberally along the top or all around. You know, you don't have to worry about putting on too much. You can kind of see when, you know, just be gentle with the gluten-free pie how you brush it because it can tear. So you just kind of just take it and take your time and brush all around. And then you also want to just take and make some slits in the top of the pie so that the pie is, you know, so that the pie can breathe and stuff like that, so it doesn't pop, you know, and blow up with the heat, you know, with the crust over top of it. So you make enough slits in there. Then on top of that, what you want to do, this is preference, but I want to add just a little sugar on the top of the pie as well, along with some cinnamon. So, you know, I can lightly sprinkle it, you know, so it can have just a little bit of pizzazz, you know, on the crust. Now that's, like I said, that deals with preference, but I prefer just kind of lightly dust the top of the pie with some sugar, not too much, just barely sprinkling. And then you also, you know, like this is preference, but I like a little cinnamon on top of the crust. So I'm gonna, you know, sprinkle a little cinnamon. I'm gonna take my fingers and put it along the top so not too much comes out, because you don't want it too much on the top. But I want to like have it going all the way around the pie. Just that cinnamon flavor on top of the crust, inside and outside. I don't do the nutmeg that way, but it's just something special about that cinnamon and everything like that. And so we're gonna put this back in the oven for a good, let's say, 30 minutes, and then it'll be done, and we'll have ourselves a homemade, made from scratch, gluten-free pie. All right, so the pie gonna turn out wonderful, but this is the reason why we're doing it, because after you join Youngevity and you taking your 90 nutrients, and you know, you got your Healthy Start Pack, you got your EFAs, essential fatty acids, and you got your OsteoFX, and you got your Tangy Tangerine and all that, and you're getting all your 90 nutrients. You know, we're dealing with how to reverse illnesses and all that, but going gluten-free sometimes can be a challenge. So what we've done is we've trying to make it easy for people to when they're treating their body right and reversing all the illnesses and all that. But you also sometimes have trouble going gluten-free. A lot of people do. So people give up the stuff they love. Well, guess what? You don't have to, because you can make the pizzas and the biscuits and all the things that you love, you know, and you can learn how to do things gluten-free. If you have any questions, give us a call at 317-892-9311. That's 317-892-9311. If you're trying to reverse illness, if you're trying to do anything like that, where you have any kind of health challenge, then just give us a call. But that's basically what it's all about, is making that homemade pie and learning how to do it. And we hope this has been a blessing to you. Like I said before, this is Natural Solutions. If you have any questions, just give us a call. And our website is www.stopsickness.info. That's www.stopsickness.info. So if you have anything that you're dealing with, that you're on any kind of medicine and you want to get over it, let us know and we can tell you what to do naturally. God bless you and God keep you. And if you have any other questions or any other things you want to make or purchase that gluten-free, give us a call and we'll send you in the right direction. And the right direction that's going to give you the best taste for the cheapest price.